Welcome, fam, to the week 12 recap of this 2023 FFFL season. And I have a special guest, a recurring guest on our podcast here. What's your name?
Zach Godby.
Godby. Yes, thank you for joining me, Zach. I appreciate it. And I
Yeah,
noticed, you're continuing the jersey trend. You got your jersey on. I don't. I probably should get with the trend. But I noticed you got a bunch of jerseys behind you as well. What are those about?
yeah. So, I told you guys if I was on again, I'd show you the Colts jerseys. So that's a few of them. That's this one right here is an Edrin James jersey.
Is it the one that you
That's
got on?
that is. I'll explain that in 1 second. Those two are Peyton Manning jerseys, and then that's a Pacer jersey. And I also threw the Kansas
I
jersey in
see
there
that.
just
The
to rub it in
warm-ups.
everybody's face that we're pretty good this year. Although Tyler's team is number one in the country. Good job, Purdue. Good job, Tyler. That's cool.
That's all right, man.
Anyways,
They'll ruin it like they did last year.
yeah, this is probably the coolest thing ever. This is a Edrin James NFL jersey from the Colts that he wore on the field.
What?
So, yeah, yeah, yeah.
How'd you get that?
I can't tell you that.
Okay.
That's a secret. But I have had this jersey for probably 15 years at least. And I did get it from Edrin James himself. I
Oh,
will
that's
say that.
cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love the Edge, man. That dude's a cool
yeah.
guy.
He's my favorite running back of all time.
Really, not just
Yeah,
Colts running back. You just love him in general.
yeah. Barry Sanders is number two. If you remember, I have three Barry Sanders jerseys. So Barry Sanders it's like 1A, 1B for me with them too. But yeah, the edge is I love the edge.
Yeah, actually, and for Barry Sanders, I saw during Thanksgiving they were showing that Amazon has a documentary about Bye Bye Barry that I gotta
Yep.
watch. I've not watched it yet. Have you watched it?
I have not. I do plan on doing that. I'm so being in Miami for the 7 days that I wasn't expecting to be. I'm a little behind in my TV shows, so
Sure, not
I'm
not
trying to
bad,
catch up. Yeah.
not
I
bad
missed
to
a
be
lot of
there.
football too. I didn't watch any football. It was pretty crazy. So
Yeah. Well, you hopefully caught up this week because you're on today's podcast. Hopefully, you have
yeah,
some
I did a
insights.
little. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been home since Wednesday. So I got
Okay,
home the day before Thanksgiving.
all right, good. So you were able to watch all the games that impacted
Yeah,
us this week.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so well then we might as well get into it, man. Might as well get right into it, Zach.
Yeah.
All right, this is the Week 12 recap. As always, we will start with our matchups from the past week. We'll get into the injury report. I already went through a waiver wire edition I sent you all yesterday. It only took me 8 tries, by the way, to do it. Um, and here's I'll give you all a little quick one for why it took 8 tries. So I got home yesterday. I got all my stuff ready, and then I was gonna work on this show deck, and I realized like, okay, well, I gotta send this waiver thing out. But I had taken an edible like right before doing that. And then I get like, and then it hasn't hit me. I'm thinking, okay, I just got to do this stuff before it like ultimately hits me because then I'm gonna probably mess up. But I started getting into doing the actual doc. I didn't go. I went like in order, and I started because it's a pain in the butt to kind of do a lot of these. But I do a lot of screenshots, and I have to like copy and paste and do a lot of stuff. So then I was like, oh
Yeah.
shoot, okay, I got to do this waiver wire thing. And let's just say the timing of that did not work out for me. And there's like 6 to 8 tries where I was trying and I was stumbling over words. I was not like the lead in was terrible. I eventually got one. I like did a full one, but man, it was not good. And it probably was like twice to 3 times as long as the one I sent. So I went on a walk with the dogs. I was like, okay, I got to get out of here. So I went for a walk with the dogs, all that stuff. And then it finally hit me, and then that's the one that you end up getting was a reworked one where I was like, yeah, all of that sucks. So I
Yeah.
sent it out. But that's my little funny waiver wire comment there. Then we'll go to the comment of the week. And I added a couple new things on here because I had to take away Trade Central because, as you all know, trades closed off today earlier before we're recording this, so no longer that. But I do want to touch on the playoff picture and kind of what it looks like as we're getting winding into that. We only got 2 weeks left of the regular season. We'll get in the Week 13 matchups, and then I'll hit you up with some DFS corner. All right, trying to drum up some DFS here on this podcast. All right, but let's get right into these matchups, man. We had three like major ass whoopings this week, and I mean like three scores that
Hmm.
were decided by like 56 points or more, which is a lot more than last time we had three ass whoopings. So we'll start with the biggest of them all, which was a 70-point whooping. Louis laid the smackdown on Sam. Any particular reason why or
Well, number one, Sam's team hugely underperformed. I guess Laporta did well and Olave did well, but I mean, 12 from Justin Fields, eight
yeah,
from Mixon, six from Connor. You don't, and you really shouldn't expect, 8 points from Joe Mixon with no Joe Burrow.
right,
And 12 from Justin Fields. Well, you don't expect that, especially against Minnesota. I mean, it's not like they're world beaters. You know,
right.
I
Their defense
granted
has
they
been
won.
better, but they're not great. I would
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. So, that is a big point, but it doesn't make a 70-point swing either. I mean, Louis' team I mean, 40 from Hertz, 25 from Jacobs, 26 from Pacheco. Like, I mean, he just crushed it. 25 from Mostert.
Yeah,
I mean, he had four players with 25 or more.
yeah,
Like that's unbelievable. You're gonna win those weeks. You're gonna win those weeks.
yeah. It's tough
So
to beat right there. I mean,
yeah,
like as you mentioned, all three of his running backs got 25 plus. Quarterback
yeah,
getting 40 plus. His
yeah,
defense again. The Cowboys scored in double digits again.
right,
Um, DJ Moore outperformed Justin Fields. So even if it was close, DJ
right,
Moore did better than Justin Fields. Yeah, it was kind of just a butt whooping all across the board. And for me, the only thing that I would say, but I think he had the right plays out there. He's going to be struggling because of that Cincinnati offense. And when you have the number one receiver and the number one running back in that offense right now, it's just not going to perform like he thought. And I think that really, Burrow going down really hurt Sam's team heavily as well. So he
yeah,
kind of continues his slide. He is 1-6 in his last 7 games, is Sam. So tough
right.
go of it in this back half so far of this season.
Yeah,
But
he's had a bad run here in the last few weeks. Well, and real quickly too,
yeah,
just fast, even Louis' backup quarterback scored
yep,
37. So even if he would
yep,
have played him, and then also, I'm not positive about this. Sorry, again, I've missed a couple weeks of football, but DK Metcalf has been kind of bad a lot lately, right? He hasn't done a lot lately. I
yeah,
almost would have probably played Brandon Cooks over him in that situation because Brandon
well,
Cook kind of came on too, if I'm not
yeah.
mistaken, right? He's done okay. Like,
Yep, he's Brandon Cooks has been much better. I think he's got like 4 touchdowns in his last 6 games. I mean, he's looking a lot
yeah,
better in
yeah, yeah,
general with that offense, and that offense is humming right now. And so I think it's tough to make that move, but I can understand why you would.
right.
Honestly,
Well,
especially with
not
the
that Louis needs
offenses.
my advice.
No, no, no. I'm saying like I think it's tough. Like DK Metcalf has
Should be
all of the
outperforming Brandon
yeah,
Cooks.
and he
Yeah,
has all of the ability to really be the shit. DK Metcalf has technically the ability to be the number one wide receiver in the NFL.
absolutely.
He has all of that. But he just I'd love to like kind of watch every single how like I'd love to just watch every single one of his plays and figure it out like why is he not. I know he was hurt for a while too and that was impacting him. San Francisco's defense, you had mentioned it before, of good luck now they have Chase Young and Nick Bosa. good luck.
Yeah.
And I felt that way. It seemed like, yeah, it just seemed like Gino didn't have any time, like, and it just wasn't going to work out, So that's a tough one. But yeah, good. But it's funny you mentioned both Brandon Cooks and CJ Stroud because I was going to do that before we got away from this game as well because that does bring up some questions, and it might and to see that might make more sense as to what you'll kind of see later on in this podcast. But yeah, Louis trouncing him, and Louis gets high point of the week. So finally, the guy who I think he scored, this is his third time scoring over 160, but it's his first time actually getting high point of the week, something like that. So nice job,
Congratu-
Louis, on your big week.
Congratulations, sir.
10 buckaroos coming your way. Next ass whooping was against you, though, man. It was a rough
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah.
So
It looks, yeah.
58 point butt kicking on this one. And I mean,
Hmm.
Mahomes did well for you. Mike Evans, good game.
Yeah,
Even Najee, good game. Like you
yeah.
had some decent games, just didn't all come together. How did it feel on your end?
Just bad. I mean, I kind of expected it, to be honest. I mean, his team is just loaded. And, he already had Dak Prescott on Thursday with 41. So
Yeah,
I knew I was
true.
behind the eight ball to begin with. And then, Kyron Williams getting 39. That's
Oh
big.
my, yeah,
So, and I mean, yeah, Mike Evans did great for me. He's been pretty good. And Najee Harris did all right. Again, we talked about this, AJ Dillon only getting 12.4. I agree with Glenn. It's not that I expected any kind of a miracle from Green Bay because they've been very hit and miss, but with no Aaron Jones and them, if you look at the score 29-22, you would just think that AJ Dillon did more than 12 points worth.
yeah,
So that hurt. But again, those differences don't make a 50, almost 60 point swing. You know what I mean?
yeah. And
It's
I
just,
mean, he had two players have huge games, obviously Dak and Kyron,
yeah,
and that made up 80 points right. That was 80 over a little over 80 points right there.
yeah,
Just in those two players, the Broncos
yeah,
defense played great against Cleveland, so we
yeah,
got a nice score there. I mean, it's a 16-point difference between them and the Chiefs.
yeah.
And two
Well,
games where I thought,
I don't remember the math, but I think with Dak, Kyron Williams, and the Broncos defense, I think he was 1 point behind me
yeah, that's what it
in my
was.
total.
Yeah, it was just those three. Because
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
to be honest, I mean, 13 and a half from Hawkinson. He's got the top tight end in our league right now.
yeah,
Just points per game wise. We'll see how it ends up after this week because he's on bye this week. But
yeah.
the rest of his team, like it wasn't like they blew it out of the water. You know what I mean? Like
No, yeah,
14 and a half, 17 from Kamara in a game where you thought he'd actually probably get a little bit more run. Cooper Cup had a terrible game. Christian Kirk,
yeah,
a down game, a 10.9, just okay. That's fine. And
yeah,
Hawkinson 13 and a half is good for a tight end. So I'm not ripping on that. It's just like those other
yeah.
guys, it's not like they did great, but
No.
holy cow, did Dak and Kyron just come with a storm and they did amazingly. And, you kind of need that. We'll see
Well,
that
and I probably
continues.
put that on myself too, because on Thursday's podcast, I thanked him for not playing Christian Watson.
Oh,
So,
yeah. And it's funny because yeah, he would have been a better option than the other
oh yeah,
wide
yeah,
receiver somehow.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, he's got a good squad. It was another good game, and
Actually, yeah, that's funny you say that. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, if he would have played, yeah, thanks for not doing that to yourself because you would have won high points of the week if you would have played Christian Watson.
actually he would have if he had played Watson over if he had played one Christian over
Any
the
of
other
them.
Christian, then he would
Yeah,
have totally had it. But
yeah,
even
yeah,
Chuba Hubbard had a good game for him, but he's not playing him over
yeah.
his other options. But yeah,
No,
another big game from EJ. Louis and EJ are going to be two tough teams
yeah,
to face coming in
they're
these
dangerous.
playoffs.
Yeah,
Yes.
their teams are good. And good job, EJ. You beat a turd team. So
Good for you. All right, we'll move on to the third ass whooping, and I delivered one to Tyler, and it was really probably more on Tyler's end than it really is mine. I mean, 135 I'll take. I'm not
yeah,
saying that; it's just more of 77
yeah.
from his squad, especially after that game from Jordan Love.
Yeah, especially Thursday, you get a 33 piece from your quarterback. Tyler had to be feeling all right. Like, okay, I might have a
Yeah,
chance here, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, it went bad fast. That yeah, I was watching him and you the whole time, and I was just like, oh man, I feel so bad for him. Like I really do.
Yeah, and I don't even know what to tell him because I feel like, he
There's
doesn't
no,
have great options on the bench. He had a lot,
yeah.
he had a good amount of points left on the bench, but it's not like people you would have played over the ones that he already did play.
Well,
You know,
actually, I would have definitely have played Curtis Samuel over
okay.
any of the receivers that he did. Any of them, even Terry McLaurin, D Hop, Tyler Boyd. So that's kind of funny to me. I was trying to get Curtis Samuel from Casey for like 5 weeks. I offered him a
Yeah.
trade every week for Curtis Samuel because if you look up his stats, he's been doing great,
Yeah.
great. He's probably averaging that like close to 15.
He's to me, I always look at him more as a PPR guy instead of a half PPR guy, just because he does get a lot of targets and he doesn't get a ton of touchdowns, but he
Yeah,
is getting a lot of work, man, in that offense and
yeah.
the way that Howell throws and how much they throw. I can
Hmm.
understand, leaning into Samuel maybe over McLaurin, but I think the tough part for him is I think for Samuel, like that 15 and a half, that's kind of where he lands. Like his ceiling isn't that
Yeah.
high. And so if
No,
you're Tyler, I mean, if you're going against a top team, like I know my team, I have a good team. I like my team, and so
you're looking for the boom.
yeah, you're trying
Yeah,
to go for it. You kind of have
yeah.
to. It's just like George Kittle. You're never going to bench that man for Gerald Everett. Like you wouldn't do that. So
Well,
I don't know
but
that I
for
would make.
Tyler Boyd against Pittsburgh with a backup quarterback, I probably would have
Yeah,
done that. That's
I
probably
could
what
I
I
could
would
see
have.
that, but I would have
I
see
understand the concept too, though. Like Tyler Boyd might be the new guy's go to target. But
shit. Looks like it's that Irwin guy more than anybody.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
but
will
here's what
say,
I
not
would
to skip
say.
ahead. Bright side is though, he does have Zach Moss on his team, so
Yeah,
that's a bright side. You'll be able to start him from now on. So,
yeah, I know because he just Jonathan Taylor just had that surgery on his thumb, so
yep.
he's out at least a couple weeks, if not more. And I
They
guess
said
I
it's
would
the
agree with
season.
you that Tyler
They're
Boyd.
saying
I
it's the,
what?
go ahead. They're saying it's the season.
Oh,
That's
really? The one I just
yeah.
saw said like 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe they were saying
Maybe
two
it
to three
changed.
weeks at minimum. Maybe that's what they were saying. But
Maybe it changed after the surgery because it went well, and maybe I don't
sure,
know.
but
As
that
of
could also be.
yesterday, it was that they don't even think he'll come back by the end of the season.
It could also matter where they're at, right? I mean, if they
Right.
don't win, let's just say he's finally healthy, he could play, but they're 6-9. No,
Mm, yeah.
no
Right.
point.
Right.
You know,
Well, I
no
mean, as
point.
of right now, we are the seventh seed, so we would be in the playoffs today.
Right at 6-6, but I'm saying
Yeah.
if you don't, because and I shouldn't say anything bad because Moss was great when he was out, so when Taylor was
Yeah.
out, so they could still be fine. But it's kind of like the Justin Jefferson thing. It's like if the Minnesota Vikings don't win, why would you bring the man back? You don't want
Right.
to ruin a franchise guy for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would say to Tyler Boyd, just to wrap that up, I would have played Josh Downs. So I would have played Josh Downs because I wouldn't have wanted to play two Washington Commanders players. So that's why I
Right.
would have played Downs myself. Doesn't help him any at that point, but I could see your
Yeah.
point in that of maybe making a switch there. But that'd be the only thing I could see is Tyler Boyd might not be the best flex spot right now. But
Right.
yeah, and on
Well, I
my
guess and
side,
also real quick, I'm sorry, I apologize, but I didn't see. I forgot Washington played Dallas, so yeah, that would have been a tough call for you to play them against Dallas. Yeah, yeah,
but one of the
yeah,
things they say about Dallas is, when you're going up against a team like that, like their team specifically, it is the slot where you're going to beat them, which is where Curtis Samuel
yeah,
plays because
right,
they're outside corners. As you saw, Bland got another interception return for a touchdown, right? It's like,
yeah,
though their outside corners are great, but if you have a good maybe potential slot option going against the Dallas, it will work.
yeah,
And Curtis Samuel kind of proved that, right? I mean, he had
yeah.
lots of grabs and it
Well, and
worked out
sorry,
well.
we're pooping on him a bunch. To get to your side real quick, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously McCaffrey is just. It's unbelievable. I mean,
He's
he's just
insane.
he's not even having a bad game. Like it's
I
unreal.
know.
I mean, and you got Bijan to go off again. He's capable of doing that. So that was a huge trade for you.
That
Um,
trade worked out heavily and did not work out at all for Andy because it's cost him 2 wins in a time when he could have had 2 wins.
yeah,
I'll kind of get to that when we hit his game, but I actually broke it down for Allison last night and was like, I feel bad for Andy
yeah,
because while I actually thought he got a lot of value from the trade, he got more depth, he got a lot because of how it's played out for him. It actually cost him 2 wins and did not gain him 2 wins, but definitely
right.
was nice to get Bijan and see that Arthur Smith is using Bijan in the right
Yeah.
way now.
Well,
So
and you
that's
got a scary player on your bench because I'm sorry, Rasheed Rice looks like he is the guy in Kansas City right now.
and it's funny. I debated between him and Adams. I really did. It's like Rasheed makes me question every week. Every week I question should, and he's playing this week. He's in my lineup this week. But every
Yeah,
week I question like, should I be putting him in? And just like, and I think after the MVS drop the previous week, I feel like it's sliding more towards Rice. But the only tough part is,
absolutely.
but I believe Kadarius Tony and stuff are coming back now. So it's like, who the fuck knows, man? I'm gonna play him
Yeah,
this week, and then he gets 3 targets. Who the fuck knows? I don't know.
of
He
course. Yeah,
shouldn't. He's earned
that's
it.
how. Yeah, yeah, I agree. And by the way, real quickly, this is completely off the subject, but you mentioned something about why I would play MVS. I was just hoping to boom. That's what it was.
No,
Like
I thought it was a great play.
I thought that, I thought that if I had a chance at all, it was that Mahomes would hit MVS. And here's the thing: if he would have caught that, I would have won. I would have won the week.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I don't know that
you know,
you obviously did not listen to the podcast where we talked about that.
I thought I did, and I thought you questioned like I don't know why he's got MVS in there.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. I guess I misunderstood it. I apologize.
No, did
I'm
you
sorry.
listen to? No, I like.
That was on the
So
You
I
and
knew why
Bob
you had
podcast, right?
MVS. I was like, he's got to get the boom because they connect. And then when
Yeah, yeah,
Bob and I
yeah,
had our podcast, we broke down that play
yeah.
because you lost by 17, and that play was a 21-point play if it connects.
Right.
And so yeah, you would have won. So I'm like,
Okay. So,
and I
oh,
kind of
that's it. So I haven't seen the whole You and Bob one yet. I'm still
got it.
in the middle of it.
Yeah, so I kind of explained like that's why you do it. That's why you did what you did, and because especially in that matchup where you're needing it, like you got to
Yeah,
have a boom
yeah,
play, and it
yeah,
was kind of a good way to explain like if MVS catches that ball, it's Zach wins, and now he's got a W instead of an L,
yeah,
and just one play, and that's
yeah,
why you play certain players and play
yeah,
comp, and it's the reason that I think about stacking. So when I say
yes,
stacking, I mean a quarterback and a wide receiver or a tight end together to then connect. Or if I talk
yeah,
about stacking on opposite sides, meaning, okay, I played Lamar Jackson. If Tyler has one of the wide receivers for the Ravens, he might be more inclined to play him this week to counterbalance me, right? Like
yeah,
that's why we talk about that stuff is for exactly that
yeah,
moment
yeah.
with you. So it almost worked out for you at that point, but
Well, we got a hair off,
unfortunate.
and I apologize, but good
No,
win
we're
from
good.
you this week. Good win from you. We don't need carry on. Carry on.
Carry on, get out of here. And we will move on to another teams that played, and that was Glenn versus Casey. Casey walks away with another W, and actually wins handsomely. I didn't put it as an ass whooping because we had 3 games that won by 57, 58, and then like 70. So I didn't put him in the
Mhm.
ass whooping category, but he won by over 30 points. So he did put an ass whooping on Glenn there. What did you note from this game or either team?
Uh, that Casey is number one. Like what? I'm floating in the middle of the field, guy. Or whatever it was he said. No, I'm just giving him shit. I mean, Jonathan Taylor getting 24. Devontae Smith has turned it on. I mean,
Yep.
it seems like he's doing better than AJ Brown right now. So that's big. Steelers defense getting them 11's kind of big. But I also know, I mean, and sorry, Glenn, I'm right there with you, but his team just did not perform either. I mean,
Yeah.
6 points from your quarterback. I don't know when he got hurt. I didn't see that game, but I know he got hurt.
Did he?
Um,
I thought he just got
yeah.
fucking taken out because it was like he had multiple turnovers. He had at one point, I think the first half, he was like negative points in fantasy.
Well, I thought he had like what, 4 interceptions or something, didn't
Yeah,
he, or
something
something like that?
crazy. It was
Yeah, it was
awful.
silly. Yeah, I didn't get to see that game, so I'm not real sure. But and Khalil Herbert getting him six. He had I don't know, Demario Douglas, 3.9, and
He did get
I
hurt, so he got a concussion. Douglas
okay,
did.
right. But I also understand why, because he was hitting hot, but I don't know why he didn't play Matthew Stafford against Arizona.
Yeah, because that's an awful defense. I actually would have played
Yeah,
Stafford against Arizona, especially knowing that Dobbs is coming off of a worse game, and the Bears defense is playing much better than people are giving them credit for. Like their rush defense is even better, and that to me that's also a reason why I wouldn't have played Dobbs because Dobbs likes to run, and to me they have a defensive line that can stop quarterbacks like a Dobbs because while
yeah,
Dobbs runs and he's mobile, he ain't Justin Fields mobile. He's not Lamar Jackson mobile. He's
yeah, no,
just a solid mobile guy. So
yeah,
yeah, I kind of agree with you. I would have personally played Stafford, and that's not even hindsight. It was just him going against Arizona. I'm like,
yeah.
I'd have played Stafford over
Now I
Dobbs.
will say, looking quickly, I think he still loses, but
Yeah, he still
barely,
loses. Yeah, he still wouldn't have
barely.
won.
But it was barely, right.
Right.
That's like a 25-point swing. I mean, so he would have been right there. He would have been right there.
But
But
points matter, and I think while we say that in individual matchups, at the end of the season, when you're looking at playoffs and you're like like itching to get in or like the points, your total points on the year matter. That's 25 points. There are
yeah,
people that will not make the playoffs probably by less than that,
yeah,
potentially.
yeah,
So that's how it went last year for me, right? I think I missed the playoffs by
yeah,
like 10 points because I had the
yes,
same record as other people. I just didn't have the
yeah,
points.
yeah,
So so I feel you there, and yeah, that was the only thing I would have said like I would have done differently just because he didn't look great in that previous game, and Stafford coming back against Arizona, I'm like they just suck. Arizona just sucks. So
yeah.
yeah, so Glenn lost by over 30, tough spot. I thought he was going to play Flacco, but he ended up dropping Flacco, I think, this week. So I thought Flacco would get his start coming up, but he will not. Stafford earned it after that last week. But
Mhm.
we'll move on because we do have a couple nail biters, like some actual like a couple close matchups. One
Yeah.
was Bob and Allison. That was real close. I don't know if you had any notes from this one as to like why it kind of maybe went the way it did.
Yeah, I do, unfortunately, and I feel kind of bad because I thought he was doing the right thing as well. I believe I mentioned it on the Thursday thing, but he was so back and forth on whether or not to play Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah,
And I was telling him, dude, they're going against Atlanta. You're going to be fine. Like that, you're going to be
yep.
good. Because I forget who he was thinking about playing. It was
It was Jalen Reed.
Garrett. It was
It
Jaden
was
Reed. Jaden
yeah, it was
Reed.
Jaden
Yep.
Reed.
Who got 13 points and Rashid got one. And obviously that makes the difference in the win.
Yep.
Obviously, and that's the thing. Like, Bob's team did okay. 108 ain't terrible. And he he only had 10 points from his quarterback, and he still scored 100 points.
Yep.
But yeah, I feel bad because I feel like I kind of swayed him that it was comfortable to play Shaheed there. And again, I don't know who would disagree with me.
I wouldn't have.
Jaden
I would
Reed,
have played him.
they're playing Detroit. They've been good. Granted, they did not look good against Green Bay, but they've looked good. Their defense looks okay. You
Yeah.
know, it just that I think 95% of the time, Shaheed over Reed is the play there in this particular matchup, and it just
Yeah.
didn't work out.
I would agree with that. I would have played Shaheed. I almost did in a different league and ended up putting somebody else in. But you're right. I mean, but the only thing that cost him ultimately was an injury to Shaheed. I mean, if Shaheed doesn't get
Right.
injured, I think he still wins this matchup because
And
Shaheed would have gotten much more than 2 points. But
right,
Shaheed got injured early on that game. It was in the first half, and he tried to come back out, and then he was too injured, and they're saying it's a quad injury. He'll be out this
right.
week, and then hopefully the following week he'll be back. But I would, and it's funny, he comes back. I'm probably gonna play him because I think
Yeah,
he's a really good wide receiver. He's fast.
he
He's got
is.
got the Jets, and he could do well, especially with the injuries they already have at receiver. I think that was a smart move.
Yeah,
And on Allison's side, I mean, she got zero from Parham. I think she's got to move on. Like I know she's really trying to keep that like stack, and she focuses on that, and it's a way for her to get in there. But
yeah,
um, I think he's got to move on. I mean, technically, her other tight end wouldn't have helped her anymore because Johnny also got zero. He
right.
hasn't. Neither of her tight ends scored any points this week, which is very weird.
Well,
But
the good thing is that she made a trade in the middle of the season that was a fantastic trade for her, where she got Debo Samuel because if she would have had Drake London in this team, she wouldn't have won this week. So you're welcome, Allison,
yeah, that's actually.
and thank you. Najee Harris has done me well.
He actually has. It ended up
He
being.
has, yeah.
Yes, and it's funny on her bench. There's not a single person that would have done better. Like literally,
Mm-mm.
she played all the right plays. It all worked
Yep,
out. She is
yep,
legitimately getting the best total she would have had for this week. Whereas Bob doesn't feels the opposite way. He could have
yeah.
thrown in anybody else. He could have thrown in Javante, Garrett Wilson, Keaton Mitchell, Jaden Reed. He could have fucking thrown Kate Otten as that flex spot. Anybody else on his
And
bench
he
basically, and
wins.
he would have won. And so
Yeah,
those are the ones that hurt. They
yeah,
hurt real bad. Are you crying for him, Zach? Is that
yeah,
that one?
yeah, yeah.
But sorry for the loss, Bob. Nice job, Allison. Way to squeak by.
Yes,
She gets the
nice win,
W,
nice win.
and now she stays atop in I think in the East. I think is what she's at, or whatever. Now we're in the last nail biter. This was man. This one had to hurt Andy real bad. And Kyle liked it so much that he changed his name afterwards. So, so he ended up updating his name, and I think he deservedly so because Allen saved his ass. Allen, good thing you didn't fucking bench Allen, motherfucker. Like, this is why you don't. This is why you don't ever bench the man.
Ever. And I think I even mentioned something about it because he had Sam Howell in 1 week. I think he did that right. He benched Josh Allen. He started Sam Howell because Sam Howell has had a lot of good weeks, but
Yep.
no, that's just Josh Allen is a top three quarterback in the fantasy football that he starts every time.
Yep.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah,
because I think
yeah.
he lost that game because he made that.
Yeah, you take the
Or no, he won.
12 points that he gets, one time a year, twice a year.
Yeah,
You just roll with that. I mean,
correct. I mean, because it's funny because like Lamar Jackson is a guy who's dissimilar, and I say dissimilar because Lamar Jackson has too many of those. Trust me, I'm going through it now. It's like Lamar got me 17 points this week, right? It's like
mhm,
Lamar has a lot of those 15-ish point weeks, and then he'll just go off for 40 or 30 or 40, right? Like whereas
yeah,
Josh Allen, it might be three times in a year he'll get you that 15, but the other times if it's a bad one, it's probably low 20s, and the rest of the time it's 30.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
got to keep playing him.
Well, and
And
on
on
the
it,
other side too, I mean, I just feel for Andy. I mean, I'm kind of close to the same boat, but looking at his team, it's like, man, he probably should have won this week. It's
yep,
super unfortunate to get your defense with -1. If
yep,
his defense would have done 3 points, he wins. Like,
yeah, yeah.
and I
I
don't
know.
even know have the Lions even gotten less than 3 points all season? I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't
I
know.
don't.
I don't know either. But you're right. That hurt him because the rest of his team actually did pretty well. Um, but here's where I will explain if he plays Trevor Lawrence instead of Kyler Murray, he also wins. And that's why I say the trade that he and I made actually hurt him because the past 2 weeks, had he not made the trade, he's basically forced into playing Trevor Lawrence. He's gonna just ride it out with Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
Last week, and I think at that point he probably has Calvin Ridley in. Even last week, he had him in this week, but he would have had him in last week. And if you remember, last week's matchup, if he played Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley, he won. He would have won handily. But
Yeah.
he didn't because he had Kyler Murray. Trevor Lawrence hadn't played well up to that point, and so therefore he played Kyler Murray instead. And Murray hasn't been bad. Murray scored in the 20s both weeks. but he just
Yeah.
hasn't scored as well as Trevor. And this week, the same thing. Again,
Right.
23 points is what Murray got him. That's not bad. I'll take 23
Yeah.
points from my quarterback. But
Yeah.
when Lawrence gets 28 and you lose by basically a little over 3 points and you lost 5 points between those two guys, that's just tough. So if he doesn't make that trade with me, he actually probably is more like 5-7 instead of 3-9, and
Yeah.
looking like his playoff hopes are very thin at the moment.
Real quick, I
Yeah.
don't know by looking right now because I'm looking at this, but yeah, Andy, drop Detroit immediately. They've had -1, -7, -4, -1. They've had 5 negative scores this year.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
lost a lot. They had a lot of injuries early on in that season. 'Cause I remember picking them up like week 3 or 4, we'll say, because they were looking
Mhm.
great, and their defensive line is awesome. I mean, I love Hutchinson and some of these other
Yeah.
guys that are on there, and
Yeah.
but their defensive backfield started to get real hurt, and that's what's been their issue is you can throw all over them. Jordan Love just proved that, right? So
Yeah.
like, so I agree. I would probably go for another defense.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe. Yeah.
but tough loss, man. I mean,
It is. And
Kyle,
nice
yeah,
win, Kyle, as well. And
yep.
I like the name. Good job.
I do too. Allen a day's work, and that must mean that Allen stays as the QB1 moving forward. Is
If
what I'm
he starts
imagining.
Sam Howell next week,
Yeah. Well, I think he has to. No, he
he
has to. You
does.
know
He
why?
does
Because you
because
change your
Josh
name to
Allen's
Allen a
on
day's
bye.
work
Yeah,
right
right.
when Allen ain't going to be your quarterback. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Also,
yes,
real quick note as well, real fast. Congratulations, Kyle. Going from he won one game last year, right? Or was it two? How about?
3 at most, I think.
Yeah,
I don't even
I forget
remember.
what it is, but 6-6. Great job, dude. Way to turn
Yeah,
it around. You're doing great. Like, good job for real.
yeah. And sometimes it just takes a while to also like understand a league. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And that can also, as you're figuring that out, because for us to play
Hmm.
enough, it's like every league has different rules, and you're trying to, and like this player might be good. It's like when you mentioned Curtis Samuel. He actually is good. He should be on a roster. He probably should start for somebody. I'm not saying that, but in a full point per reception league, he's even more valuable. So you kind of put him
Yeah,
up higher. So yeah, a lot of
yeah.
stuff. So just figuring it out. But that was our week 12 matchup wrap up right there. So nice job to those who got a W and got getting closer to that those playoffs. For those who got a loss and are feeling like a lot of that pressure to get into the playoffs, I wish you well in these next couple weeks. Now we get into our sponsor this week. We have a pretty special one. We don't really see him very often, but he's made the decision to help us in our podcast, and that's Cases Aces Gambling Places. Feeling lucky? Test that luck at Cases Aces, the premier gambling places. With 7 locations within the northwest central part of the southeast side of Indianapolis, you're sure to stumble upon one by accident. If you do, see if you can beat Casey at a game of Omaha High Low. Casey is a master at playing low and winning, no matter the opponent. Trying to earn some dough at the blackjack table? We suggest holding at 16. You may actually win. Whatever your game is, you'll find it at Cases Aces Gambling Places. And yes, it's places, not palaces, because we ain't fancy and neither should you. Well, thank you, Casey. That was a real great sponsor right there. Cases Aces. Maybe this means that he'll come on the podcast. Maybe that's what
You
this is
know,
leading to.
you know, uh, everyone knows that's been on the podcast that we talk a little bit before we actually start recording, and we were talking about this, and being that we are brothers, and I am the brother that I am, uh, it's time to get your ass on the podcast.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have a computer or not, or a phone or the time, make time. This is your family. And if you don't, I'm coming down there.
Okay. So, Casey, that means next week should be you, is what Zach is saying. And I'll reach out to you, Casey. I'm sure you don't ever listen to these because you're not on them. So I don't, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. I don't know if he's listening either, but someone send him this clip.
yeah, otherwise you're just gonna get shit on by everybody. We're just gonna keep ripping on you for being the worst first team in America. We're gonna keep ripping on you for that. So yeah, hopefully we see him on here. I don't know. I mean, like I said, for some people it's not their jam. So I'm all
I
for like,
understand it.
hey, it ain't your jam, But and I don't. And it's funny. I don't. Sometimes I'll seek people out. I haven't really sought him out, but I'm gonna seek him out now. All right, I'm gonna seek
Yeah,
out Casey. He's
yeah,
he's given us some sponsorship dollars, and I just want to make sure that he can spread his message when he's on here.
yeah. I'd love to see. I'm gonna be honest too.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Kyle again. He was nervous, and I thought he did great.
Yeah, he did.
He
That's
did,
true. We got some time and we got a few more
and
weeks
got to
here.
learn a little bit about him as well. I didn't know a whole lot about him. I just knew he was Louis' son and that he lived in Texas and that he was in the military. That's all I knew.
Yeah, and you worked on wind turbines.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what
And
I knew.
the stash is nice. I almost kept my stash. I shaved yesterday. I had like it was bad, but
Yeah,
I can't do the porn stash. I can't do
I'm almost done. I mean, I got one more day of November
it.
tomorrow, and then that's why I'm like growing out like the stubble because I'm like, yeah, I'm not shaving this all again to just I'm not gonna go clean. I'm gonna
Right.
grow this, and then on Friday I'm just gonna shave it all, get it all
Yep.
shave, same length. So that's what's gonna happen. So I
Yep.
think I've played it perfectly. Uh,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Sam got pulled for an emergency surgery on somebody's big toe, so he's not going to be able to help us out with the injury report right now.
Being
But
a
he did
doctor
say
is
that
tough.
it's a really important thing, and he really cares a lot about it, and so he's going to send it out. When after surgery, post surgery, he's going to send it out. So just so everybody's aware, you'll probably get that later. Just saying. But thank you, Dr. Sam. Now, go to the comment of the week because we don't got no waiver wire shit. We ain't got no trades to talk about. You had mentioned this one. So, this is for all of you who actually listened to the Thanksgiving midday report. Glenn had a really good comment on. We were asking about the Miami and New York Jets game, and
Yep.
he had basically some people playing against him in that, and so he was hoping that it would be a 20% reduction, 20% off production for Black Friday players because he was hoping to get a little bit of savings in order
Yeah.
to
That
to
was a good
save
one.
his W at that point. I thought that was pretty good as well.
Yeah, that was a
And
good
you
one.
actually nominated it. You're like, hey, I'm going to
I
nominate
did.
that one.
Well, and to be fair too, let's be honest, there hasn't been much talk in the past week, It's been kind of quiet. Thanksgiving and holidays and all
Yep.
that's been it's been crazy. So,
What Sunday was blank. I don't think a single person sent anything on Sunday.
yeah,
It's very
been
weird.
busy.
I don't know if it's like as the playoffs are coming about, people's buttholes are tightening, and so therefore they just like don't say much because I feel like there's this like superstition that's also around. We're like, oh, I don't want to say anything because I don't want my players to get ruined by the fantasy gods because I said something or I talked some shit or I did whatever. That could also be the case as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
I don't know.
That I haven't been talking because I was in Miami. Yeah.
Yeah, you had a
When
you
I
had
when I went down there, I decided that I wasn't gonna be on Facebook and text messaging people. I was just enjoying my time. I was just
yeah
having a blast. Yeah.
video and all the ladies.
There's some videos, not very many. I tried not to incriminate myself. Okay.
I was gonna say there's some videos that will never get shown to anybody else. Is what you're saying.
There's a couple people have seen some videos that are good, but for the most part, I just took pictures of the cars and the nightlife, like just all the buildings and stuff. It was cool.
What'd you think? What did you think of Miami?
Well, I mean, I used to live down there, so I mean,
Oh,
I love it there.
well, I knew
It's
that you had
nice.
been in Florida, but I didn't know
Yeah,
were you around the Miami area or did you just go
yeah,
visit?
in Hollywood, so it's like 5 minutes north of Miami. So like
Got it.
To give you an idea, it would be like where Casey lives to Indianapolis,
Got it. Okay.
something like that. It's kind of like Schaumburg to Chicago, but even closer than that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a lot different than when I was down there. You know, I haven't been down there in 25 years, and it's a lot different now. Like it's construction everywhere. Like the people there are talking about how many people are moving there from New York to California, Texas. Like a bunch of people are moving to Miami.
Yeah.
So there's like these skyscraper construction everywhere, like everywhere. It's crazy.
Uh,
But I love it. I just for me it's the weather. It's just I love the weather. It's
Yeah.
great. Miami's a little busy, but I just go to the beach and enjoy it. It's great. I love it.
I've been to Florida multiple times, just never been to Miami. I realized I've never really been on the East Coast of Florida. Really, it's always been the Gulf side rather than
Yeah.
the coastal side. But I want to go. That was one where we were contemplating it when we went there in August, but just didn't make it.
Just for people's note memory, put this in your banks. It is not as expensive to go and visit there as people think. Now
Yeah.
to do certain things, it can get expensive. It depends on what you do, but to just give everyone an idea, my hotel I stayed in three different hotels and the most I spent was $181 a night.
Okay.
The least I spent was $89 and that was the nicest place that we went to.
Really?
Yeah. Now I did
So
go through Expedia, but
yeah, but
yeah,
still, that's what a lot of people are doing, man.
$89 a night and I stayed in a skyscraper uh hotel where I was 31 stories up looking out at the ocean.
That's
It was,
cool.
yeah, yeah,
Very nice. Well, we're glad
yeah,
you're back. You know.
yeah.
All right, now let's go into the playoff picture. So I'll move you down here. Let's move ourselves down as we're recording that. So the playoff picture is looking like this at the moment. So what it is, so right now there are five teams that have secured the playoffs, which would be Allison, Louie, myself, Casey, and EJ. So the five of us have secured a playoff spot. The only one who is unfortunately eliminated would be Tyler. So with that loss, he gets eliminated ultimately. We have then that means we have six other teams that are fighting for three other spots. So we got a little tight race here. Some are having a much greater challenge than others. Andy, you are still in it, but you have a 1% chance. Literally, Andy cannot lose. He needs to win the next 2 weeks in order to even have a chance. And what I will say from that is obviously Sam and Kyle are at 6-6. So if either of them gets a win this week, they are automatically in to the playoffs at that point because the worst they could be is 7-7 at that point, and that would get you into the playoffs. Based on how I've seen it, because there are four teams that have eight or more losses. So if Kyle or Sam gets a win, they are automatically in. And then week 14 will be, basically multiple teams fighting for one spot at that point. So we'll see how that goes. Right now, as it shakes out with the current records, they do this in the NFL. I figured I might as well show this up here. But it looks like Allison would be the number one seed facing Bob. Casey would be the number two seed facing Kyle. And then we'd have in the middle matchups, me and Louie would go against each other in round one at the 4 and 5 seeds. And then EJ and Sam would go against each other as the 3 and 6. So that's how it currently looks if it were to happen today. So that's the playoff picture, folks. You probably know where you stand amongst it. And that means y'all got to be winning. All right.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I hope this does change.
I know you do.
Not for me to be in the playoffs. I don't like those playoff matchups. The only one I like is Bob and Allison. I think that'd be a good match.
Yeah. So why do you say that?
Well, you're not going to want to hear this, but I think Louis probably kicks the shit out of you. That's
Yeah,
just tends to be, he's scoring 160
I'm a little
points.
afraid of Louis. Yeah.
Sam's team's been extremely underperforming going up against EJ. I
Yep.
basically chalked that up as a win. And
Yep.
then I guess Kyle and Casey could be a game, but Casey's been doing great. Casey's been
Yeah.
squeaking out these wins, just winning and winning and winning.
Yeah. And I would agree. I feel like it's interestingly enough, I think the close matchups would be the number one and number two seeds in their matchups. And then, yeah, I'll be honest with you, like with Sam, losing six of his last seven, having some struggles on his team due to, Joe Burrow being out. I think that really hurts his top talent that was on his team or stuff. Yeah. Like I said, EJ's still rolling and potentially getting a Justin Jefferson back, you know.
Right.
And he's rolling even with an underperforming Cooper Cup, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's one of those where I would agree. Louis and EJ to me are the top teams.
See,
In
that's kind of what I was thinking. I guess I would say more for entertainment value. I would rather see them two go at it in the first round.
No, see, I don't. I would say the opposite because then I think like I look at them as truly the top two teams, and others can argue that they're number three, number four. They're not number one or number two, but point wise, they are number one and number two. I mean, they're kind of
Yeah.
smoking us all,
Yeah.
and so I would agree with that. That it's like but that's where I'd like to see them in the championship against each other. Actually, what I'd like to see, if that were to happen, because I want to be in a championship, so I would like to beat Louis. But hopefully, let's see. We'll see how it ultimately shakes out because
Well,
it does mean a lot.
that's why I say entertainment value. I think it'd be better if the two big heads took each other out in the first round, and then
Oh
you and Allison and Bob and Kyle and Casey, you guys kind of have a chance. Like maybe you can have a good week against one of them top two,
yeah,
whoever wins. You know what I mean?
and hey, you know what? The game isn't played on paper, so at the end of the
Right.
day, I mean, our game technically is, but they still
Yeah.
got to play the games. So even in matchups you think it won't go right, who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting, and I'm looking forward to see what this looks like after this week. We're gonna do this again, and then we'll do the final one after the final regular season week. But yeah, that's how it currently shakes out. So that means we have matchups this week, and it's actually a really interesting week of matchups, and it's to me perfect in a sense because we'll go through the first one. The first one is EJ versus Allison. So that's a matchup this week. Previously, when they played against each other. Allison won by 25 points. We'll see. Does EJ get his revenge this week? The only reason they're set at both at 107.8 is because he hasn't updated his tight end spot. He's got to find a replacement for Hawkinson. However, I know that her lineup is where it's going to be at, so that's where it's at for her. Let me move us so others can actually see what I'm talking about here. So she currently has the only change that I would tell her to make is tight end. Like she needs to find a different tight end because Parham ain't it. Gerald Everett had a much better game. He's on Tyler's bench, but that ain't going to be it. But where do you see the difference in these games?
I mean, honestly, as much as she's gonna love hearing this, I think it's Justin Herbert. I think I think this might be a big week from him against New England. If you want to know the truth, I think he might score 30 plus.
Yeah,
And to be honest with you, this might be the last week I would try the Parham stack too,
got
just
it.
because I think New England's not very good. They're not even trying to win, so
I know.
uh, that might be a good matchup. I like Jameer Gibbs against New Orleans. I do not like her Philly stack against San Francisco. That's going to be dangerous. But I can't see her bench, so I don't know what changes she could even make. But um, and on EJ's side, Dak going against Seattle, that might be a good game for him. But I think everyone else kind of has a tough matchup. Alvin Kamara, like you said, Detroit has a good line. So I don't know how many yards he's going to get, but he might get catches. We'll see. And, Cooper Cup playing Cleveland, they're good, and he hasn't looked very well yet. So we'll see.
Yeah,
But then he
yeah. I
also
think
has Kyron Williams against Cleveland too. So, I think that might hurt him maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, I know on the Kamara side, I mean, you got to play Kamara because with them without pass catchers right now, I mean, Kamara's going to probably get a lot. I mean, I could see Kamara in double digit targets this week, just
Yeah.
because they don't have many players to throw to. So I could see
Yeah.
that, being the case. In regards to him, EJ hasn't even tried to pick up another tight end. He's basically telling her, "I'm not going to even play one, so I'll still beat you." That's what EJ is kind of saying to Allison right now. That's how I'm taking it. And if I was Allison,
Right.
I would take that very personally and know that
Yeah.
he's saying I can be a man down and still beat you. So bring it. So that'll be interesting. I don't like his defense though against against Houston, but I've noticed looking at it, he's actually changed it. He got the Rams against Cleveland, which that would be a great team to play this week because Cleveland sucks. And who did Cleveland play this past week? I think it was Denver. I think
It was
he's playing
Denver.
the defense against
Yeah.
because and
Yeah.
Denver scored in like double like 20 something points against Cleveland. So
Yeah.
going against Cleveland is a good idea. On
Yeah.
the other side, her defense against Washington, I don't mind it because Sam Howell does. I mean, there are turnovers. He takes sacks. Just know that you're going to get some points scored against you. I think Washington Commanders still score, but I think there'll be turnovers that'll be forced. So that should work out fairly well on that side.
Yeah.
Should so what in here you had mentioned that you didn't like the San Fran versus Philly, but you're not changing out those players. I mean, you're going to keep
Yeah,
those
again, I don't.
guys.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't see her bench right now. For some reason, it logged me out of my fantasy. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that she probably can switch them out.
No,
But
I don't see anything on here that she could do differently. In all
yeah, I
honesty,
mean, you're just gonna have to hope for a miracle because, well, I don't see San Fran giving up a lot. I don't know. I mean, I know Philadelphia is good, and maybe they kick their teeth in. I don't know, but I don't see that happening. Like I said, until I see San Francisco lose again with Chase Young and Bosa and Debo back and Trent Williams back, I'm just going with San Francisco. I mean,
yeah, and I want to see if the Cleveland defense, if Miles Garrett is going to play or not. I know he was hurt, and so he's like kind of up in the air as to whether or not he's going to play. That he's fucking defensive player of the year basically, so he's been
mhm.
amazing. That is going to be a heavy impact on EJ's team because he has Kyron Williams and Cooper Kupp going against Cleveland.
Yeah,
Cleveland's been very one of the best defenses, in the league this year. So that'll be a tough matchup for him to overcome if they're at full health. And I even think Denzel Ward has potential to play this week, and he's one of their top defensive backs. So that Cleveland defense could be getting stronger also, which would be
yeah,
a tough one for him on that side, but we shall see. All right,
yeah,
let's move on to the next one. Next one is me versus Casey. So the reason I even bring up sorry, last one was so EJ was I think is number one in his division. Or no, Casey's number one. He's number two. So EJ's number two, whereas
yeah,
Allison's number one. And the next one is Casey, who is number one in the West at 9-3, and then I'm third in the East at 8-4. But these two games I put first because we're all in the playoffs. So all four of us are in the playoffs already. This is going to be more about seeding and where does seeding start to happen for our teams. Um, I'm getting kind of a break here because Jonathan Taylor is obviously going to be out potentially for the season, as you mentioned. So that really hurts Casey, and he's got to fill that RB2 spot at this point. What I don't know where he's going to go with it, but really he's got Tyler Algier. That's the only person he has on his bench that he could put in there. Uh,
yeah,
it may work out, but they're playing the Jets. Jets actually haven't been that great against on the ground. Like their rush defense hasn't been great. They just have an awesome pass defense. So Algier could get some run and be an okay fill in for him there. I'm
yeah.
just hoping I can get that W on that side. So I got kind of lucky in that. Anything that you're
What
seeing? from that
Well,
side.
yeah. So he has it updated right now. It's Brees Hall and Tyler Algier. So he has that set right now.
Does he? Because like I'm
Yeah,
in the app. Did he just do it?
maybe. Yeah, I don't know. He's projected 103.9. You're
You're right.
projected 113.
He literally must be
Yeah,
doing it. I literally opened this app up like 5-10 minutes ago. So
yeah.
Casey's
So,
right along with us. Okay.
but yeah, I mean, again, I think that you have a good week against him because Philadelphia's defense is good too, and I think if San Francisco does do good, obviously I think it's going to be McCaffrey, which you have. You know, I don't think Brock Purdy is going to do anything crazy. Now he
Yeah.
might throw for 2 touchdowns, but that gives you 15, 20 points. But Brees Hall going against Atlanta, that might be good, but we'll see. He's got two running backs. His running backs are going against each other, which is, you don't really love that.
Right.
So, and then, he's got Devontae Smith, who I said, yes, he's been going off, but he's playing San Francisco. So that could be a bad matchup there. And then Travis Kelsey going against Green Bay, I don't know. Green Bay's been hit and miss, on playing good defense. So maybe they shut him down. I don't know. But I like your matchups. I like Bijan against the Jets. I like Keenan Allen against New England. Uh, again,
Yeah.
McCaffrey against Philadelphia is kind of scary. But again, I think if San Francisco does anything good at all, it's because McCaffrey will get, 20 points plus.
Yeah. The only thing I don't
So
like is Derek Carr. I got
I
him in
didn't,
that
I
trade
didn't, yeah, I didn't mention that. But I mean,
without the
Lamar's on
receiving
bye, right?
weapons.
Yeah, you have Lamar, but he's on bye,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Correct. And I
So,
don't know my question where I'm going with that is simply I don't like that he doesn't have the weapons that he needs. Like he doesn't have his he basically probably won't have his top three receivers because if Olave doesn't play, then that means he's he's down all of his receivers. I don't know who he's going to throw to, or I don't know how they move the ball as well. And so
right.
therefore, I was looking at the waiver wire. I like Kenny Pickett a lot, but he's questionable right now. Um, and I don't remember what his injury was. I don't know. Let me look at that. But he was the other guy I was like looking at just because they looked good. But even so,
Hmm.
even when they looked good, he got 12 points last week. Even Kenny Pickett, where in a game where he actually looked much better. But it looks
Yeah.
like he hurt his ankle. Is
Hmm.
what it looks like. But who knows? So like other options, like I don't know. Like I have no idea what to do with that. So
I don't.
I'll probably
Taylor
just
Heineke. Taylor Heineke just got dropped.
Yeah, that's because Ritter is going to be their starter. So I
Oh,
don't, dude. I don't know, man. I'll probably keep with Derek Carr, but that's my big question mark is whether or not I
yeah,
play Derek Carr or not,
yeah,
or if I go with like a Gardner Minshew instead against Tennessee. But against Tennessee, I just feel like they're at Tennessee. They play better at Colts play a little bit better at home, and Tennessee slows the pace down a lot to where you just don't get as many plays run. So
yeah,
who knows? So my hope is ultimately that Detroit gets up and New Orleans has to throw the ball in order to get there.
yeah.
That's my hope.
Well,
But
again, the way I think of it is, looking. I think if Derek Carr can get you 15 points, you're going to be fine.
yeah, that's my hope. He averages 14 as you can see. But I will
Yeah,
say yes, that is my ultimate hope is that he does that he actually does get me into that middling ground where I don't feel like you didn't get me 6, you got me 16 and
yeah,
I'll totally take it.
yeah.
Um The only thing I'll say about Casey is he's on a heater. I mean, he
Yes,
he has only one loss. So from week 5 on, he only has one loss. That is to me, and it's by basically half a point. So he's literally
yeah,
lost one game by half a point since week 4 was his last loss before that.
yeah,
Like that is kind of scary. So he's on a
yeah,
huge heater and a guy I don't want to go up against because it seems like teams are crumbling before him is what's happening
yeah,
there. But good luck, Casey. I hope you lose. All
yeah.
right. Next, we have Bob's bandwagon at 5-7. against Allen a day's work when Howell's going to be my quarterback. Allen's on the bench, unfortunately, but I put fourth in goal because these two are both fourth in their divisions and they have a goal of getting to the playoffs and they're both like right in that hunt. So they both need a victory. I mean, if Kyle gets the victory this week, he's guaranteed to be in the playoffs. If Bob gets a W this week, he is not, but he is much closer to being in the playoffs. So they both need a W. How do you feel this matchup goes?
Well, I am sorry, Kyle, but I kind of hope Bob wins. Just
Yeah.
because I think Bob has a good team and I think he deserves to be in the playoffs and he needs to get a win here. Um, Plus, I don't love Kyle's team. You have Sam Howell going against Miami, who, they've got Jalen Ramsey back. They look like they're doing well. Tony Pollard against Seattle. I don't see him doing a whole lot against them, and who else was it? Tank Dell going against Denver. Denver's quietly just winning games and their defense is killing
Yep.
people and they're
Yep.
doing well. So um now on that note, me saying that, I don't know if I would stick with the roster that Bob has starting right now, but I'm not
Who
going
would
to
you
give him
play?
an I'm not well, so I probably wouldn't play Javante against Houston, just because Houston's a good team,
Yeah,
um,
they've
and
played well.
and they have played very well. And you have Brian Robinson Jr., who, again, yes, they're playing Miami, who's good, but I think he'll still get his points. Where I think you could switch them two out, and in your flex, you could probably put Jaden Reed there maybe against Kansas City, uh, or you could put or yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Because
That would be his
yeah,
other
yeah,
move
yeah.
because he's
So
getting
that
hit by buys
so
a lot.
yeah, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. He's probably looking at the projections as well, and he's seeing it, like that. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's
and
a
I can,
tough. It's another. That's the other thing for him. It's another week of a tough call. I think. I think it's a tough call.
on both sides. Yeah, I feel like doesn't have many options because his only other option is Jaden Reed.
Yeah.
It's against Kansas City, who's got a good defense, so it's tough to know. It's just not the same. It used to be, before this year that when your team was going against Kansas City, you were cool to play them because they're going to have to keep up. They're going to have to pass a lot until your receiver's going to get work. Whereas this year it doesn't feel the same. But I don't mind a squad. But you're right, Houston's got a pretty stout run defense, especially. So it's kind of tough to have that him going against him. But he's kind of playing it the way that I probably would play it myself. On the other side, he's got a lot of options to choose from. Waddle against the Commanders is great because the Commanders' defense sucks. Like their defensive backfield is terrible. So Waddle will probably have another good game. Rashad White against Carolina, they have one of the worst defensive lines, and I mean people are just running all over them. So that would be
Yeah.
a good one. I agree with Tank Dell, and I know that he's also he got a little bit banged up um, with like a calf issue. But I don't but it seems like he'll probably play. But is he minimized in any way, shape, or form at that point? I like Kyle's matchup with Taysom Hill against Detroit because who else is New Orleans going to throw to? So he gets more targets and probably more design plays for him because they got to figure something out, to
Yeah.
do with against them. So I don't know. To me, for you, yes, I think you want Bob to win because that's more helpful for you to get into the playoffs, I think, because at that point, if Kyle wins, there's one less spot in the playoffs, right? At that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, you should be rooting for anybody who is not 6-6 to win their
Yeah.
matchup at
Yeah.
this point. But it should be I think this will be a really close game, and I would kind of put this almost as like the game of the week. If I didn't do that this week, but I think this will be a really close matchup between these two.
It
All
might
right.
be.
Next one, we have your game. So you are going up against Tyler. What are you worried about? What are you thinking?
Everything. mean, it's just bad, man. You know, I
It's a
just
bad
don't.
man.
I don't have a great. I don't have a great roster. I don't love a lot of my matchups this week. I don't love Jerome Ford against the Rams. You know,
Right.
I don't love Drake London against the Jets. That's
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
that. I hate it. I hate it.
I don't love Logan Thomas against Miami, but that might not be who
That won't
is
be
in
too
that.
bad
That
because I
might
think
not be
Miami
who's
will be
there.
just like Dallas. I think with just like Dallas, the outside corners are great, and so like it feels like it's going to be a lot more in the middle of the field where Logan Thomas and Curtis Samuel are. So I actually don't
Right.
mind. I kind of like Logan Thomas this week,
Yeah. Yeah.
but Drake London, you're
Well,
right,
and
not
and
liking
I
him.
don't love Noah Brown. He's banged up going against Denver, who again, like I said, they're playing really good.
Yep,
So
yep,
um, I don't know. That's going to be tough. And then, if I'm being quite honest, I again, I agree with what Glenn said, but they are hit and miss. I don't really love Mahomes going up against Green Bay.
sure,
I mean, so and for that matter, yes, I have Kansas City's defense and he has Jordan Love, so hopefully that works out for me, but it scares me to death. He has Zach Moss, and that's the truth. I mean, he has done nothing but when played and handed the ball, he's been a stud.
yep.
So, um,
I would
Miles
agree,
Sanders
but
going against Tampa Bay, maybe he has a game there. I know he's been doing
nah,
terrible, but
he's been
I
awful.
and
He's
then
been the he's been the worst call I have made for this fantasy football season has been Miles Sanders. I mean, he's just been, and their line has been awful. You all told me that from the get go, and I was
yeah,
like, well, they were great last year, and I think you all pointed out they don't have the same line as last year, and
yeah,
it is shown because they are destroying Bryce Young and what the guy could probably be because their line sucks so bad.
yeah. Well, and again, I not to give him any tips or anything, but with looking at his roster, I almost would play Joshua Downs over Tyler Boyd.
Yep, I
You
would
know,
definitely play Downs over Boyd this week myself. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, honestly, I good luck, Tyler. I think you probably beat me. Honestly, I'm probably beat this week. Yeah. I'm
I
kind
mean,
of
we'll see how it
defeated though
goes.
too. I mean, it's been a bad year. You know what I mean? It's been rough. My team's been rough. It's
Yeah,
just I drafted poorly. I
but I
didn't do
think you're
what I
both.
wanted to do.
I think this week you both are coming into tough matchups. Like that's kind of how it looks too. So while you feel like,
Yeah,
oh, my roster's not what I want it to be, at the same time in this specific week, yeah, you're coming up against matchups that aren't great. It's like it's interesting because you have like Najee against Arizona Cardinals. That's a great matchup. Mike Evans against
yeah,
Carolina. Mike Evans always good. That's going to work
yeah,
out just fine. I think Logan Thomas versus Miami that'll work out. That'll work out well. However, on the opposite end of it, it's like Drake London against the Jets, awful.
yeah,
You mentioned
yeah,
Jerome Ford, tough week against the Rams. Noah Brown against Denver. Like then you got some tough ones. And on the other side, the same thing because I think Jordan Love against Kansas City try and get turnovers. I think you'll get turnovers. That actually might help you out on your end. Miles Sanders against Tampa Bay. I know the coaches rain on him, but Tampa Bay's actually had a really good run defense this year, and Miles Sanders has sucked, so I don't like that one. McLaurin against Miami. Again, shut down corners that do pretty well. Like I see that one. That's going to be a tougher game for him. I don't
yeah.
like Tyler Boyd in that matchup. So it'll be an interesting game for you all, and you need the W, man. You got to get this W. So don't
I do.
overthink it.
Yeah,
Don't overthink it. All right,
yeah.
we'll move on to the next one. Um, I put Will Olave play. Sam still hasn't updated his roster or his matchups for this week. So he's trying to figure out what he's going to do with Justin Fields and Jordan Addison. For his other quarterback, he has Geno Smith against Dallas. So
Ugh.
not good for his other option right now at quarterback. And then to replace Jordan Addison, I mean, probably put George Pickens in there. And if Olave doesn't play, here's where that goes. If Olave doesn't play as well, that means he's replacing two. He's replacing a wide receiver, and then he has to fill in that flex spot. And I guess if he's playing Geno Smith, he'd probably throw JSN, so Jackson Smith and Jigba, which is a wide receiver to pair with Geno Smith. He'll probably just be forced to throw him in, so maybe you'll get some boom from that of hey they connect for a touchdown and you've gotten something out of that. I don't know, but looks like it'd be a tough week for Sam, and still a tough week on the other side for Glenn too. So anything that you're noting from this matchup that you either like or you think is going to sway a certain way?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, Glenn, but I think Sam is probably going to do pretty well this week. Honestly, I think he is going to play Geno Smith, and I think he should play Smith and Jigba. Um, I would definitely replace Jordan Addison with George Pickens. I think Pickens is going to have a big week this week just because I don't know who's paid attention, but the little Deontay Johnson thing that happened, that's not a good look, which means like Pickett might just be like, I'm not even going to throw him the ball at all this week. Like that might be some punishment that goes his way. The team is
Yeah,
not going to like seeing all that, but I've heard nothing else about it. So I don't know, but I definitely play Pickens in the Addison spot, obviously. And then obviously, yes, if Olave's playing, you play Olave. But
right.
if he's not, I think you definitely play Smith and Jigba. And I think they'll do okay against Dallas. I mean, again, I don't think they're gonna do anything crazy, but I think they'll be all right.
And I think JSN, this is that spot like I had mentioned earlier where you can beat Dallas more in the slot than you
Yep.
can on the outside, and that's where JSN does a
Yep.
lot of his routes. So I think that could work out actually well for JSN if that's the route that he decides to go, which I
Right. Well,
imagine it
and
may
if
be.
it's a game like everyone probably thinks it's going to be, Seattle's going to have to throw a lot.
Yeah. And on Glenn's side, he picked up Pat Fryermuth off of the
Yeah.
waiver wire, which is great.
Yeah. He was the only person in front of me, and he stole Pat Fryermuth from me. That's awesome.
I know because he had Cole Komet, and Komet's not playing this week, so he had to put his in there. But Demario Douglas had a concussion, so he's likely out. We'll just say like more than a 50% chance that Demario Douglas doesn't play, putting his only other play really at Jerry Judy. He could go with Jerry Judy or Amari Cooper. Mari Cooper's also injured, and so he's up in the air as to whether or not he's going to play. So he may have to end up playing Judy in that spot against Houston, and that might work out all right because Houston's got a good run defense, but their pass defense is not great. So
Mhm.
that could work out. We'll see. But Judy hasn't really done much most of the year, so
Yeah.
this will be an interesting one this week of a bunch of fill-ins because I think Glenn had like 5 or 6 on by, and then obviously from Sam's starting lineup he has a couple people on by already, so
Yeah.
should be interesting. But
Yeah.
again, two teams focusing on the playoffs, so I
Yeah.
love it that we have all these matchups this week that really have a lot of playoff
I,
implications.
I am pushing for you, Glenn. I need Sam to lose as well.
Yeah, Glenn, we're hoping you win. We're sending the juju your way, man. Um, and our last matchup for this week is Andy versus Louie. Listen, guys, just letting you know. I know you're all about bro code, but I don't want to see no fucking bro code here. This should be Louie. You are a winner, and winners they put their foot on somebody's throat when they're fucking down. Okay, that's what winners do. They don't let people back in the game. Okay, so don't dick around. Don't fuck with shit just so Andy can get in your precious playoffs, okay? Not doing it this week. Not going to have it. And if I see any of it, I'm vetoing the game. I'm giving it to Louie. So then so Andy gets goes 11 playoffs. I'm just going to make it so that Andy has to be the one to face punishment. And I'll just commission it to that. That's what'll happen. But any way you see Andy winning, because like at this point, it actually looks towards it's leaning projection wise towards Andy.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I know it might sound nuts, but I almost play CJ Stroud against Denver over Jalen Hurts against San Francisco.
So he
I,
had Stroud in,
yeah,
and then now he's
I
moved it
know it's
back to
tough.
J.
I mean,
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts just had 5 touchdowns.
yeah,
Like I mean, but I'm telling you, this defense. I think this game is going to be one of them low scoring games. I think it's going to be like a 17-7 game or some crap like that, and it's
yeah,
not going to be what people think. But
yeah. It
again,
won't be a
I
shootout that they had with
no,
Buffalo.
I don't think so. No, no. And on the other side, yes, I love Andy's matchups. I mean, Trevor Lawrence against Cincinnati, they should do all right. I don't love the Charbonnet against Dallas, but Tajee Spears, our defense is all right. I say ours, Indianapolis. I like CD Lamb. He's just been killing it. Nico Collins is against Denver. Not I don't love it, but he's been doing it. So, you
Yeah,
know, and then Calvin Ridley, obviously, that's a no brainer. But I do love that he could also play a Chan this week too.
yep.
I think he's coming back. So I mean, he's got a choice there. He could not play Spears and play a Chan. I mean,
He also has Aaron Jones that might get healthy and come off his IR. So he actually,
yeah,
I
I
don't think
don't.
Tajay Spears is who plays in that spot, which actually makes his projection even higher and his chance for scoring more even higher this
Right.
week.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, aside from all that, I don't see a lot that anybody could change.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right because Louis has Josh Jacobs and DJ Moore out this week on
yeah,
bye.
yeah,
Um, you know, one of the things that has helped him is he hasn't faced a ton of injury that I'm aware of on Louis' side. Because as I look at that now, I look at it as like, yeah, if he had any injuries like this, he doesn't really have a ton of depth. I mean, he had to pick up Tutu Atwell, which I'm not
yeah.
saying is bad, but it's like you know, that's when it's a little shaky on that side. But Andy has James Cook who's out, Rashawn Johnson who seemed to actually be the better back in that backfield this past week out. But I think he'll get one of those other running backs back and he'll be able to plug that person into his lineup. But I would,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do. I lean towards Andy. I mean, I
So
do lean
real
Andy's
quickly,
way.
I just as I'm looking over this, I see the projections and all that, but I would switch out. I wouldn't play Trey McBride against Pittsburgh. I would play Dalton Schultz against Denver
Yeah, you think so? Well, here's what I'll
for
say.
Andy. Yeah.
If Louis decided to play CJ Stroud, I'd probably do that just to have
There,
somebody
yeah.
on the other
Yeah.
end too. And both those teams have a higher pace of play than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, as we all know, always slows the game down too,
Right.
and so you're not getting as many plays. So I think that's actually a smart note that you have there. That
Yeah.
might be a better spot, better play. But right now, Louis put Jalen Hurts back in. I kind of agree. I actually might put Stroud in. Just this is one of those rare instances where I know we were talking about, kind of ripping on Kyle for the Josh Allen move and putting Howell in over Allen. However, it's to me you have Stroud who is ranked as the number 5 quarterback in our league so far. Jalen Hurts is number 2 quarterback in our league so far. They're not that far off. So whereas like Howell, I think was around there maybe though. Howell was like 6 to 8 in our league at some point, but Stroud has just seemed more consistent with it and just has a better
Mhm.
control over it. But yes, this will be an interesting matchup. But I do actually see it leaning Andy's way, which means that Louis will end up winning.
Yeah.
So that's ultimately what that means.
Yeah.
But those are our matchups for this week. Before we kind of wrap it all up, speaking of Andy, want to go into DFS corner. Andy got a W against me this week. Here's our lineups right here. What you're seeing, for all of you who don't know daily fantasy, so DFS is daily fantasy sports. That's what it stands for. But um, we play on Yahoo. We get a quote unquote salary cap of $200, and then each player is assigned a dollar amount. And then you have to kind of construct your lineup within that $200 time frame and see the best one that you can make. So this week, you look at these lineups. sir, I kind of made the gamble, and I often do. I often make a gamble of going with a lower priced quarterback and try to like tie in options with that. So I always stack my quarterback basically every single time. I don't not do that. I just think that's an important part. So I decided to stack Gardner Minshew with Michael Pittman, and then my bring back. And when we talk about a bring back, Zach, you know what I'm talking about. But a bring back is a player that's on the other side of the field. So the Colts were playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I decided to bring Rashad White back. So meaning that I have Gardner Minshew and Michael Pittman on one side, and then thinking of bringing back Rashad White. Well, that didn't really help me out a ton this week because, as you'll notice, he played Jalen Hurts,
Yeah.
and Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen went off. I was scared of that game, Zach. I saw there was inclement weather, and I was like, you know what? Knowing how the Kansas City game against Philly went, I just kind of felt like this is primed for a low scoring affair with the rain and bad weather, and it just maybe not going to play out. And it was the opposite. It was a huge game for
Yeah.
those teams. And so that was a big point of like you needed to have, I think, Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, like it's basically QB
That's
and
what
tight end that hurt me.
that's what hurt you, really.
Yeah, tight end did too. So tight end, the lowest dollar amount for a player in Yahoo is $10. So that like it basically goes from $10 up to like the max I've ever seen is like 41 or $42 for a player. That's the maximum I've ever seen. But I'll just say most players reside in that like 14 to $28 range is where most players end up. I like to what I call like what would they call punt tight end, and I like to punt defense. So I go to like the bottom of those lists. I felt like that's kind of my strategy as I usually pay lower for quarterback. I try to get good running backs and receivers and then go shitty on defense and tight end and whatnot. Did not work out for
Yeah.
me this week, as
Right.
you can see. Do you do daily fantasy, Zach? Do you play this?
I have, but I haven't in a couple of years.
Okay. So you'll know some of
Yeah.
the terminology, but yeah, Andy got the
Yeah.
W this week. Like I said, the separator is definitely Jalen Hurts. I mean, it was a 20-point difference. And at
Hmm.
times I don't mind it. I don't care about that because I'm paying less money to get better players on other parts of it, you know?
Right.
Um, Whereas I feel like my running back plays obviously outplayed them, but it's really more of like the amount that you've spent on that player and what they can get you in the end. And with Yahoo in particular, because of how they do their salary, I look at it as whatever that player costs me, I would like to get like 60% to 70% of that back in points. So
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew actually cost me $27, I think, and I got like 15, 16 points back. So that's actually kind of a round where I'd say, okay, like he was a lower end quarterback. He did what I asked him to do. But Tommy Tremble, my tight end, was $10, got me 1.2 points. That's 12% of what he cost me. That's not good. Whereas
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts was a higher price. He cost Andy $39 this week, but he got almost that whole entire thing back with the
Yeah.
35 and a half, right? So it helps him out. So big win for Andy. I think we're now 7-5 on the year, leading my way, but it's obviously swung his way this past week. And every week now, I'm going to give you all this update and let you know who won, who lost against Andy and I. And if you would like to play, feel free to hop in there with us. Okay.
Well, like I said, maybe next year I'll join you guys.
Yeah. Right now, I got $10. Right now, I'm up $10 is what I'm up because we do. Suppose we're doing $5 a week on
A
this, so
week.
it's
Yeah.
75. So I'm up $10, but we still got lots of time, and we even play through the playoffs. So we'll go into the playoffs and even do that kind of stuff. Once it gets
Nice.
too small, I probably will tell them like, "Hey, this ain't for money," because it gets kind of when there's only like four teams playing, it's a little tougher and it's tough to get tricky. But
Yeah.
one thing you'll notice, there's two players that are grayed out, and it's because we both had them. So it
Right.
automatically grays those out because we both played them, and both were good plays. Devonta Smith had a good day. So did Tank Dell. Tank Dell did pretty well.
Hmm.
But yeah, so that's how it shook out. But that's our DFS corner. It's
Right.
replaced Trade Central, so now we have DFS corner. And that'll be every week. So good job this week, Andy. Way to get that W against me. Next week, I'm going to take your ass down. Okay. But that wraps us up for this Week 12 recap. Good luck to
Sorry
everybody
about
out
the
there.
length this week. I know we probably went long.
I
I
don't
don't know.
fucking know, and I don't care. Okay,
Yeah.
it's good, valuable information,
Yep.
everybody. And then remember that Dr. Sam is in surgery, so he promised to get me the report after post surgery.
Good
So
luck in surgery.
yeah, good luck to whoever's big toe that is that you're messing around with. And good luck to everybody else in week 13. All those who are vying for a playoff spot, you know, make the right decisions and don't overthink it. Any parting words you guys, Zach?
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone one more time. I know it's over. And Merry fucking Christmas. It's that time, baby.
It is that time of year, you know.
But I love you all.
Chestnuts roasting on an open
It's been
fire.
fun being on here again.
Yes, good to have you. Next week will be Casey. We promise. No, I don't promise that.
No, don't do
But I
that.
can't
Don't do
promise
that.
that. It's
Don't
a
do
so far it's been 0% chance.
it.
So can't promise that. But nice job. Thank you everybody. We appreciate you. We love you all. Thank you, Zach, for joining me on today's podcast, and good luck to you this week as well for your playoff hunt.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.